Hello everyone, and welcome to the Specialist Trading presentation, where today I want to talk to you about the triple threat of trading. These are three of our most consistent methods, and when put all together, they really form this synergy for success for trading in any market and in virtually any time frame. For example, as we look at this chart right here in Orly, as we can see, the market was going up. Well, the first method I'm going to be talking about today actually generated a buy signal after it had already gone up for a while. And potentially, if you held out long enough, you could have potentially captured upwards of 50 points. Now, as the market kind of ran out of gas a little bit and started to pull back, well, at this point, another method generated another buy signal. But the third portion of this triple threat is actually some type of a filter. And what it did was say, you shouldn't be actually buying this. And so it saved you from a loss. So all these three things, when combined, really form this great synergy for success. And the best way to trade them is on the PET-D Primo charting platform. It's the educational platform that teaches you how to trade with a triple threat. So this promises to be a great educational presentation today. Welcome. My name is Steven Primo, President and founder of Specialist Trading. And all these three things I'm going to be presenting today, I've actually been trading for myself for the past 4 decades now. All of them I learned when I was starting out on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. I started trading roughly 44 years ago. I started on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. For 16 years I was on the floor, and 9 of those years I was a specialist. So that's where we get the name Specialist Trading. Specialist is someone who made markets in roughly about 50 or 60 stocks. So I made markets during the crash of '87 and the bull market that followed. So anything you can think of, any market environment, any system, any strategy, any new technique has really been around before. They've just been renamed or rebranded. And I, in my classes and in my courses, teach you what really works in terms of consistency and what doesn't. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, trying to elevate your trading to the next level. But before we begin, as always, we're first required to share this with you. So please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results using this triple edge, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. Also, since we are an educational company first and foremost, all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. Now, we have a Twitter page that you can follow us on if you'd like to get more education on a daily basis, because I post anywhere from 3 to 5 times a day, different signals our strategies have generated to little bits of financial wisdom, things to educate you about trading. So lots of great free information. Please feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now, as I stated in the opening statement, we are first and foremost an educational company. Our only goal is to educate you. So as I often say in my webinars, if you've come here thinking I'm going to tell you what I think the market's going to do for the remainder of the week or next week, or what I think the perfect stock is to buy, or what my pick is for the perfect time frame, you've come to the wrong place, because that's not what an educator does. See, a good mentor does not trade for you. He teaches you how to trade. In my 44 years of trading, the only traders that are still trading, the ones that have continued to have this longevity, this sustainability in the markets, regardless of what happens, are the ones that make their own trading decisions. And how they got to the point of making their own decisions was by being educated and being confident enough to make their own decisions, and that's how they got there. So that's what we want to instill in all of our students. My goal is not to trade for you, not to force feed you signals on a nightly basis, not to have you come to a chat room and find out what we like or don't like, or a trading room. We don't believe in any of those things. My goal as an educator is simply to teach you how to trade with a specialist edge. Same edge that was taught to me some 4 decades ago, and what has sustained me for that amount of time. Hopefully it will be able to do the same for you. Now, this is going to be a classroom, so I want you to ask me as many questions as possible, but please wait till the end of class to ask questions. I like to do things a little bit different from other webinars. If we stop at every slide, we'll be here far too long. I think I have about 160 slides to share with you today. So please, if you have a question, excuse me, wait till the very end. And I promise I'll get to each and every one. The only question I will answer is the most common one, and that is, do you record this? Yes, we do. All of our webinars are recorded. If you have to leave early, or if you're having technical issues, don't worry. Each and every one of you will be sent a link to this recording, all right? So if you joined us late, we have a good crowd here today. Please wait to ask questions at the very end. All right, so let's begin today's educational class, and let's jump right into it. Let's talk about these 3 edges. All right, threat number one. This is probably our most consistent strategy at Specialist Trading. It's something I've been trading for 40 years now. This is strategy number 4. Okay, so what are some of the highlights of this particular method? Well, it's a pattern recognition strategy. In other words, we're looking for a pattern that repeats itself over and over again in all markets and in all time frames. So we teach you how to identify this pattern, how to look for it, so you can establish some type of setups for whatever market, whatever direction you'd like to trade. Now, it was designed for traders looking to identify momentum in advance. That's the beauty and the real edge of strategy number 4. Oftentimes, it will generate a signal when it appears as if there's no momentum at all. And then you'll find out 2 or 3 days later when the stock takes off in a certain direction. And it only uses one indicator. That's the 50-period moving average. We talked about that before. We call that our buy-sell line. So let's look at an example here in MAR, Marriott. Looks like a sideways market, right? In this example, someone would say, well, Steve, there's absolutely no momentum here. Why would I want to buy this? Well, that's the beauty of strategy number 4. Even in the sideways market, a buy signal was generated right here prior to a 28-point rise in just about a couple of weeks. Here's another example, and the ACAD, all right? Looks like a range market, right? Just kind of going sideways in a range. These are the markets you're always taught to stay away from. But strategy number 4, based on this pattern, generated a sell signal right at the top of that range, and potentially you could have captured 26 points. Look how the market gapped down there at the last portion of the chart here. How did strategy number 4 know to go short when there was absolutely no momentum? That's the beauty of this pattern, and we teach you how to identify it on your own. This is not a black box system. None of our methods are black box. We teach you how to trade with them. And then finally, we look here at MORF. Very directionless market, right? Just going sideways to lower. Nothing to see here, right? But on the last day, strategy number 4 in that directionless market generated a buy signal. Very next day, the stock was up 57 points, okay? That's the beauty of strategy number 4. That's why I use it all the time, because it has this uncanny ability to uncover where these stocks are about to take off when it looks as if there's no momentum at all. Okay, but what happens if strategy number 4 doesn't generate a signal and then the stock takes off and it keeps going and you say, well, gosh, I really wanted to buy this, but I was waiting for a strategy 4 signal. I didn't see that pattern. Well, this brings us to threat number 2, and this is strategy number 5. This is the second strategy in our triple threat. Let me give you some of the highlights of this. It's a non-traditional candlestick method. All right, we're not going to trade the candlesticks in the same sense as you were most likely taught. And it may be applied to all candlestick patterns. It only uses one indicator, once again, the 50-period simple moving average. So let's look at this. The beauty of strategy number 5 is that oftentimes it will generate signals already within an established trend. For example, we already have an uptrend here in JBHT. So someone would say, well, I don't want to buy it already. The stock has already taken off. But strategy number 5 generated a buy signal here and still managed to potentially gain 15 points. As we look, and as one of the other things I forgot to mention, it will continue to generate signals all along the way at times. Here's another example in CHKP. Obviously, most traders would say, well, sure, Steve, I don't like this stock. It looks in a downtrend, but it's gone down too quickly. It's down too low. I can't sell it now. I can't buy the puts. It's too low. I would have liked to have maybe sold it up here, but it's too late. And on top of that, that trading room I go to says there's major support. This is Fibonacci support or the institution, so I can't sell here, right? Well, we don't look at any of those things. Remember, we only teach you things that have high levels of consistency. And in my 4 decades plus of trading, I have found no consistency in applying support and resistance levels, in applying volume, in applying overbought, oversold indicators, and in looking at fundamental news. They just have no consistency because they're too subjective, okay? They're too hard to figure out. We want things that are cut and dry, like a pattern or a candlestick pattern, all right? And where everyone thought there was major support here with the institutions, strategy number 5 was actually generating 2 sell signals, and it still squeezed out 9 more points if you wanted to go short. And then lastly, we look at this chart here in Viacom, okay? Obviously, we're in an uptrend. the stock was roughly trading about 30, but now it's got up to 30, I should say up to 60, 65. It's gained about 90% already. I don't want to buy it up here, right? Well, that's the beauty of strategy number 5, because it can tell you if there's more momentum left, and it can squeeze out even in an already established uptrend move, a momentum move, because it generated a buy signal right here, and potentially you could have captured another 50 points. Now, I'm not here to tell you that every signal is going to be a winner. I don't want you to think that. I just want to share with you how this process works, but not every signal is going to be a winner. It's just nature of the way things work in the markets. You know, there's always going to be losses, but losses will be inevitable, as we see here. Here's a strategy number 5 buy signal. This was in Tesla. It's an older chart, and look what happened. Never had a chance, right? And here's a sell signal in BBY, Best Buy. This is a strategy number 4 sell signal. Looks good, right? Selling at the top, looks like a reversal, and went straight after that, okay? So losses are inevitable, but there is still a way to filter out many of these losses. This is where we come to threat number 3, and this is probably one of the most powerful of all the 3 threats. This is the PET-D. You've heard me speak about it before. This was something I learned how to use on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange some 4 decades ago, and I use it every day in my personal trading. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the PET-D, what exactly is it? Well, it's a color bar proprietary algorithm. Now, this is something, once again, when I first learned this 4 decades ago, I had to calculate this on a hand calculator by hand, almost on a tick-by-tick basis. But we've developed it at Pro Trader Strategies and Specialist Trading to make it a color bar tool. So what it does is it colors the bars, either a series of green bars or a series of red bars. What exactly does this mean? Well, the green bars mean that there's a short-term uptrend. The red bars mean that there's a short-term downtrend. So it's a short-term trend identifier, but it's the most sensitive. And I say, in my 44 years, I have never seen anything better at capturing the short-term trend than the PET-D. For example, as we look at this older chart of Aetna, sure, in hindsight, it's easy to say we're in an uptrend, so maybe you jump in and buy, and then this happens, right? If you had the PET-D on our platform, you simply apply it, click it on, and you would have known in advance that the bars were green, well in advance of the uptrend that uses the generic methods, and well in advance of the downtrend, you would have known that there was a series of red bars. So it's really fine-tuned at helping you. Now, remember, it is not a predictive tool. It doesn't predict how high or how low something will go. It doesn't tell you when the bottom is or when the top is. It simply tells you on a tick-by-tick basis what the market wants to do. Basically, we call it our translator because it's translating what the market wants to do. And it just colors the bars green or red. Okay, so how is this going to come into play with the triple threat? Well, we're going to use it as a signal confirmation tool. This is probably one of the best ways to apply it. Now, the reason why I say one of the best ways, there are literally dozens, if not hundreds of ways to use the PET-D. And we share with you in a course many of those and how to do them. I've talked about them in free webinars on Wednesdays, how to apply them, many of the different techniques. You can also use it as a stop placement. There are just almost an infinite amount of ways to use it. But in my opinion, this is one of the best as a signal confirmation tool. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, let's say you get a buy signal with strategy 4 or strategy 5, okay? You get a green arrow below one of the bars. Here are the rules for the triple threat. You're only going to trade strategy number 4 and strategy number 5 signal bars that are colored green. That's it. All you need is to see that bar colored green or outlined green. That's it. And then you know you have a high probability signal. Let's say you get a sell bar, okay, a sell signal with a red arrow on top. Well, you're only going to sell or trade strategy number 4 or 5 signal bars that are colored red. That's it. It's that simple. But let me show you how powerful this is. Remember those 2 examples we showed where we lost money? The first one in Tesla. This was a strategy number 5 buy signal. Now, if we apply the PET-D, it's as simple as clicking it on our platform, and the bars automatically change colors. Now, this was a buy signal, so we want to see this outlined green, but the outline is red. So therefore, the PET-D was telling us as our translator, sure, all the patterns and everything came into place in terms of requirements and rules of the strategy, but the trend, the short-term trend, is still not in sync. So it's best not to take this trade, and therefore you would not have lost any money. Same thing with this example in BBY. All right, all the rules and requirements came into play with a pattern for the strategy number 4 sell signal, but it didn't work out. Now, if we had simply applied the PET-D, you click it on our platform, and we found out why. Because that bar wasn't colored red. Remember, it needs to be colored red if it's a sell signal. It needs to be colored green if it's a buy signal. And this sell signal was colored green. It was a down day, but in a short-term uptrend. Okay, so therefore, we should not have taken this, and therefore did not lose any money. You see the power behind this triple threat. You have two highly consistent methods, and you have a great filter or signal confirmation tool. So when we combine all three of these methods, we get what we call Specialist Trading's triple threat of trading. This is this high level of synergy here that really leads to your success, that is very simple to apply, it's very easy to learn, and it's one click away on our platform. So let's look at some recent examples, and remember, everything we're going to be showing you today comes from the PTS Primo charting platform that teaches you how to trade with a triple threat. All right, here's an example in PSA. This is going back a couple of months now. Someone would say, well, Steve, we're only looking at 2 or 3 bars here. I can't get an idea, but based off the pattern, sure, you would have seen that there is a buy signal. All you had to do to check your work on the platform is click on strategy number 4, and if a green arrow appears under the bar where you think a signal is generated, then you're learning how to properly identify it. So the drop-down menu will appear, and you'll click on signal arrow at the top, and you were correct. There was a buy signal right there. You see, what we want to do as an educator, since I can't sit next to you all day long, we want to have the platform to work as your mentor. So we teach you what to look for this pattern. You practice it over and over again in paper trades, so you finally identify it on your own. And the way to check your work is by using the platform and the signal arrows. So ultimately, you won't even need the signal arrows. You'll know exactly where a strategy 4 setup is. Now, this is all well and good. Now you have a highly consistent buy signal, but we want to kick it up a notch or so. We want to really make it a really highly probability consistent signal. How do we do that? We apply the PET-D. We want that bar to be colored or outlined green. But once again, on our platform, click on PET-D, and you're right. You have a nice high probability setup. Remember, it does not matter what the bars prior to the signal are colored. They could be green or red, makes no difference. But the bar on top of the buy arrow needs to be outlined green, which it was. So this was a high probability signal in PSA, and the stock went up 45 points. Here's another setup in INTU. Now, obviously, we've been in an uptrend, right? Most traders would say, well, Steve, I went to that chat room and we're, way up too high here. This thing has gone up. It's hitting some resistance. I mean, I can't think to buy it right now, right? But there's a strategy number 5 buy signal right here. You check your work, click on signal arrow, and you were right. You properly identified a strategy number 5 buy signal. So this is another high probable setup, but in order to take it up to the next level, you want to make sure that that bar is colored green. So we click on the PET-D, and guess what? The last 5 bars have been green, but that's, makes no difference. All we care about is the last bar, the bar above the arrow. So we have a high probability setup. What this is saying is that there's still more room to the upside. And it was correct. And the next week, the stock went up 25 points. Here's an example in Twitter, okay? Stock is basically going sideways, no momentum. There's absolutely nothing you can tell from it, but strategy number 4, based on the pattern, generated a sell signal. In order to make that a high probability signal, we add the PET-D, and yes, it's colored red. So this gives you the confidence to take this trade. Now, however you decide to trade it, by shorting the stock, by buying the puts, by creating some type of spread to the downside with a downward bias, it's up to you. We don't tell you how to get in the trade. That's going to be your decision. As an educator, we're just teaching you high probability setups. We're sharing with you what to identify. How you get in or what you decide, what vehicle you decide to trade is up to you. But this is a high probability sell signal coming into May, and look what happened. The stock fell 17 points. You notice how it gapped down 2 or 3 days later? Most people would say, well, sure, it went down on bad news or some bad announcement. Well, maybe, because we don't follow news. I can't tell you. I don't know. But the point is, how did we know that 2 or 3 days in advance? It's because the market, the chart we're looking at, tells you everything you need to know. You need something that translates what the market wants to do. There's absolutely no need, in my opinion, to listen to news, to look at support and resistance, to look at momentum, have a ton of indicators on your screen, because it's really, those are the things that stand in the way to your success. Those are not the things that add to it. They actually stand in your way. So what we're trying to do is make successful traders as an educator. I want you to be successful so that you're trading, 3, 4 decades down the road, not just a couple of, months, and then you give it all back. All right, most traders would look at this example in CVS here and say, well, Steve, sure, it was going up nicely, but I can't buy now. It's overbought. I go to that trading room and it says you got to sell this because look at that reversal. It went higher and then closed towards the low. That's a major reversal. Okay, do you notice how this is the way most traders make their decisions? I used to do the same thing, but that was 44 years ago. But people are still doing the same silly things now, going to chat rooms and trading rooms, listening to guys on TV, looking at support and resistance or institutions. Trust me, it didn't work 44 years ago. It's not going to start working now. What is the market telling us? Well, according to strategy number 5, it thinks that there is actually a sell signal here. So, okay, well, maybe they are right. Maybe they are right. But wait a minute. That's not the entire portion of the triple threat. We still have to add the PET-D. So when we add the PET-D, our translator, what's it telling us? Well, unfortunately, we didn't add the PET-D, but we saw that this trade didn't work. But had we added the PET-D, now we find out it was telling us the bar was green. So our translator, which translates what the market wants to do, not what some guy on TV or what some institution or what some guy in a chat room is saying, but what the source is saying, the chart is saying, well, the trend is still up. You shouldn't really be selling it based off this pattern. And that would have been a wise idea, and therefore we wouldn't have taken the trade or lost money. How about this example in DDS, okay? This was just about 3 weeks ago. Once again, a directionless market, right? Kind of going sideways, but strategy number 4 has generated a buy signal. So we want to check our work, and we see that, yes, we're correct. There are 2 green arrows under these 2 bars. Now, if we want to take it up to the next level, we add the triple threat of the PET-D, and both of those bars are green. Remember, we don't care about the bar in the middle that's red. All we care about are the bars above the green arrows. That bar needs to be green as well. So you could have taken any of those signals, and coming into this last week, 65 points potentially you could have captured. Let's look at DraftKings. All right, obviously we've been in a downtrend, right? And we kind of had a little bounce, but it looks like it's going lower. But it's hard to sell now because it's gone down so much. Maybe you want to buy. Well, we have actually 2 sell signals, strategy number 5 sell signals. And once we add the PET-D, we see that they're both colored red. So you don't want to buy here. Why? Not because of what the jobless claims are going to be tomorrow, or not because of what the interest rates are, or not because of support and resistance. Remember, we know, I stopped looking at those things 4 decades ago. And if I'm still here, it's really proof that they don't really matter. So what am I listening to? I'm listening to the market. The market's telling me it wants to go lower, so my job is just simply to go with it. And that means I want to be a seller. And potentially you could have captured 18 points. See, the only reason you lose money is because you are doing the opposite of what the market wants to do. If the market wants to go lower and you buy, you're out of sync with the market. That's why you lose. If you're selling and the market goes higher, you're out of sync with the market. Trouble is, we never learned how to listen to the market. We're always listening to some guy on TV or some news that comes out about the company. We never listen to the market. It's so much easier and takes so much pressure off you because it's simpler to decipher. There's no subjectivity involved. All right, we have a cluster here of sell signals in Roku, okay? This was coming back into May, all right? And we even have a double signal here. We have 3 strategy 4 sell signals, and on this day, we also have a strategy number 5 sell signal. Once we add the PET-D, we see that all these are red. So this is a cluster of high probability sell signals in Roku. And look what happened. The stock fell 85 points coming into May last month, okay? There's absolutely no need to really try to make it more complicated than it has to be. Your job as a trader is simple. Find out what the market wants to do, listen to it, not to some guy on TV or in a chat room. Just listen to the market and then jump on board, whatever direction it wants. All right, let's look at NTES. Let's show you how our triple threat can really help you. Now, strategy number 4 generated a buy signal right here. Didn't work out too well, right? It also generated a strategy 5 buy signal and then another strategy 4 buy signal. So which one do we take? Should we have taken all of them and hope for the best? Because look what ultimately happened. None of them worked out. Here's the beauty of applying the triple threat. Once you would have applied the PET-D on our platform, it automatically changes the colors, and you would have seen that all of those buy signals, in order to take them, would have had to been colored green. And what color are they? They're all outlined red. So therefore, you would not have taken any of them and would not have lost any money. Now here's an example in Viacom. Okay, how could we have taken advantage of this really big upward move? All right. Well, we think we see some strategy 4 signals. Click on strategy 4 just to verify. And yes, we're correct. Right here, and then some more were generated right here. All right. And we also think we see a strategy 5 signal. Click on 5 to verify. Signal arrows. And there it is. So potentially you could have captured, I believe, upwards of 50 points because they were all confirmed by the PET-D. Every one of those bars was green. Okay, so let's recap our triple threat. Remember, threat number 1 is strategy number 4. It is our most consistent strategy. I use this every day in my own personal trading. It's based on a pattern that repeats itself over and over again. And if you say to yourself, well, Steve, I don't trade stocks. I trade Bitcoin, or I trade futures or currency pairs. Well, guess what? I mainly trade E-mini futures on a 5-minute chart. So strategy 4 is what I mainly use, and that works just as well. Now, threat number 2 is strategy number 5. This is a great alternative method to have, that when strategy number 4 isn't generating signals and you see a trend taking off, it will generate signals oftentimes within the trend and keep on generating them as the trend continues. It's a non-traditional way of trading candlesticks. And that brings us to threat number 3, which is the best of the best, the PET-D. Why? Because it's such a powerful tool. It doesn't generate signals. It's not a trading system or a trading strategy. It does not predict how high or how low something will go. It simply translates on a tick-by-tick basis what the market wants to do. So therefore, once you know what it's translating with the color bars, you can use it a number of ways, dozens if not hundreds of ways. In this sense, it is used as a signal confirmation tool, one of the most powerful ways to trade strategy 4 and strategy 5 and filter out the bad trades. We combine all these 3 together, we have Specialist Trading's triple threat of trading. This will take your trading to the next level because you have 3 of our most consistent methods all bundled up together. So ask yourself, do you think these 3 methods could help your trading for the remainder of the year? If your answer is yes, which I mainly think most of you will be saying yes, we have a great offer for all of you today. This is a special attendee offer. We're going to offer you, obviously, our triple threat special. That's strategy 4, 5, and the PET-D tool. You're going to get instant course access, detailed instruction. You're going to get the entire course rules to the strategies. You'll learn exactly where to enter, exactly where to exit, and exactly where to place your stops. In fact, you'll have multiple ways to enter, exit, and place your stop. Now, these 2 strategies have both conservative as well as aggressive versions for you to trade. So if you're a conservative trader, don't like a lot of risk, we'll show you how to do that. If you're a more aggressive trader, we'll show you how to do that as well. Now, with the PET-D course, you're also going to get 4 PET-D trading techniques. Remember, the PET-D can be used a number of different ways. You're going to get 4 of the best different trading techniques to trade on its own as well, okay? Now, let me share with you an extra bonus on top of that. The extra bonus is the PTS Primo charting platform. Remember, we said the best way to apply the triple threat is by using our platform because we made it specifically designed for that. We made everything 1 click away. Now, we're going to give you a discount. Normally, 12 months will cost close to $1,200. We're going to discount that down to you, and we're going to actually discount it down to nothing. You're going to get a full year of our platform absolutely free. Now, on the platform, there are literally dozens of different techniques and methods that I haven't talked about today that you can use for your trading as well that really will increase your odds for success, because not only will you get strategy 4, strategy 5, and the PET-D tool, instant access, you'll also get our proprietary buy-sell line, 4 different ways to tell you what the overall trend is. You'll also get a strength of trend tool I developed with Pro Trader Strategies that has a great ability to determine if a trend is running out of steam or not. And then you'll also get one of our exit methods, auto-generated exit levels on the screen. So with one click, you'll automatically see where these exit levels are, okay? Here's the best thing about the platform. In my opinion, it's the signal scanner. Now, I know I talked a lot about stocks today, but let's say you trade other markets. Let's say you trade other time frames. Guess what? You can scan other markets and other time frames. So not only will you be able to come home from night or scan at the end of the day to see what the next triple threat setups are, you can also scan for different markets, such as the British pound. Here's an older chart of the British pound. Looked like the market was kind of going sideways, right? But strategy 4 generated a signal. When you applied the PET-D, it was confirmed. Signal confirmation down, and it fell 390 pips. That's close to $4,000 in the next week or two, all right? Here's a 4-hour chart of the Swiss franc. Looks like the market's been going up, and guess what? Strategy 5 generated a buy signal within the market. If you applied the PET-D, it's confirmed. It's now a triple threat signal, and 95 pips. That's close to $1,000 in the next couple of days. And if you missed that one, there was another signal generated a day or so later. How about intraday E-mini traders, okay? Here's a 10-minute chart of the E-mini. Now, the E-mini has been going down. The PET-D has been coloring the bars red. You think you see a strategy number 5 signal, and you're right. There's a strategy number 5 sell signal. So intraday, you could have sold that for a nice 20-point gain in the next 3 or 4 hours, okay? That's basically about $1,000 if you held on. And another signal was generated all the way down. So this is a great addition to the platform because you can scan for signals. You won't have to look through the entire universe of stocks. You can see right in front of you if there's a buy or sell signal being generated, okay? All right, so let's break down the triple threat, all right? Strategy number 4 normally costs close to $700. Strategy number 5, the same price, $695. And because there are so many different uses and because the PET-D is so popular and it's so powerful, it's our most expensive item here, $49.95. So if you purchase these separately, it would cost you close to $6,400. Now that's not including the full year of the platform, okay? So if we throw the full year of the platform, the normal cost, we're talking about over $7,500. So let's say you had never attended this and or watched the video and then 2 months later said, you know what, I want to take advantage of that triple threat. Well, you'd have to buy them at these standard prices because the special I'm going to be talking about today would be over. Well, here's the good news. We're not going to come anywhere near to charging $7,500. All we're going to do is take off the prices for the strategies and charge for the PET-D. So your total price is only $49.95. You're going to save over $2,500. That's close to a 35% discount. And here's some even better news. We have payment plans available. So if you can't come up with $49.95, you can still be up and running as early as today with a small deposit. Just a down payment of a small deposit and then have monthly payments, okay? And that can all be established with Pro Trader Strategies. So $49.95, if you just want to buy it outright, the triple threat is yours and a year full of the PTS Primo charting platform. Or if you'd like to go on monthly payments, you can contact Pro Trader Strategies and they can set up a payment plan for you. It's that simple. We really want to make it easy for you so that you can start trading this right away. And why do I say right away? Well, think of it. We're already halfway through 2021. It's hard to imagine. I know that. It seems like it just started, right? But in a few weeks, we're going to be into July. That's the halfway point. Are you going to wait another year to become a consistent trader? This price, $49.95, may be close to $5,000 or $7,000 by the end of the year because this is one of our most popular packages. So invest in yourself. Take the time rather than investing in some worn out idea that really has shown no consistency or any type of ability to increase your results. Invest in yourself. Learn the things that are really shown that stand the test of time in terms of consistency, okay? Here's how to do that. Contact Pro Trader Strategies. They're my sister site. They help me develop all the courses. They help me develop the platform, and they are in charge of all the discounts and pricing, as well as tech support. Now, you can email them for any questions, but what I would do, personally, I suggest this, is to call them directly at area code 310-598-66 77. They have trading consultants, have numerous trading consultants manning the phones. So sometimes you have to wait because we get an influx of too many callers, but they should have enough to take your call today. They can answer questions, so there's absolutely no obligation about pricing, about discounts, and any other questions you may have, even about tech support, okay? But that's where you want to call. And if you're set up and if you're saying to yourself, you know what, I've saw your last presentation about this about 6 months ago, and I'm ready to make the move now because it's increased in price. If you want to jump in now, now's the time to do it. Call them directly, and they can set that for you up over the phone. Now, if you want to go to the information page, you would click on this link right here. And I don't believe that's a live link, but a live link has just been posted on the chat box. So if you go to the chat box on the go to webinar column on the far right, you'll see that there's a live link there, okay? So I'm going to leave all this information on the screen right here. You can copy this down, copy down the number. Remember, there's absolutely no obligation, and I'm going to answer any questions you have. So if you have questions, go to the question and answer column, type them in, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability, okay? Okay, question, what platform is this? Okay, well, this platform is the PTS Primo charting platform. As we've said, I don't know if you came in late, this is the platform we developed. I developed this with Pro Trader Strategies and myself, and the beauty of this platform is that it is extremely, extremely simple. The reason is because, as I said, I've been trading for 44 years now. I'm not going to mention any names, but I've traded using platforms, just about any platform you can think of. And I have a pet peeve with platforms that are just too difficult to figure out how to scan, to figure out how to load a chart, to figure out how to get a different time frame. So we just specifically made it so simple. All you had to do is click one thing, and it's right there in front of you, okay? So this is our platform that I developed at Pro Trader Strategies, okay? Will the indicators work on other platforms? Yes, they will. The indicators will work on the major platforms such as TradeStation, Metastock, MT4, Sierra Charts, even Ninja Charts, and Thinkorswim. But you have to contact Pro Trader Strategies to get the add-ons, okay? The only disadvantage of using it that way, though, is you won't get the scanner. Plus, you with the platform, you get many more different ability to trade with all the different techniques and methods that are on the platform you won't find anywhere else, as well as a scanner. You won't get that on the other platforms. And so that's the real advantage to using our platform with this, okay? If you have questions about the platforms, and once again, tech support questions, contact Pro Trader Strategies. They're in charge of all the tech support, all the data, all the different ways to use them. If you want to use them with other platforms, you can do it that way as well. But it's a lot more difficult to get signals and also to scan. So we made it much more easier on our platform. Another question, does the daily color bar paint intraday or only after the bar closes? I'm looking to avoid the gap. That's a good question. What happens is the PET-D is always coloring the bars. In other words, it will never have a blank bar and then have the bar green or red once it closes. So it's always updating because remember, it takes everything into account on a tick by tick basis. So if it's taking everything into account by tick basis, it's either going to be green or red. There is no other color. There's no blankness. It's either green or red. So it is, yes, always updating. Sometimes if there is a large range or the calculation of the algorithm is right on the precipice of between green and red, you will see the bar switch between green and red. In fact, I was watching that today in some of my intraday trading. But once it closes, either green or either red, then it is set. There is no repainting. It doesn't, reconfigure. It doesn't change its color. It's always set at that. Now, the beauty of this is that even though the indicator is very sensitive, you won't get a lot of that back and forth. Usually if it's green, it's going to stay green. If it's red, it's going to stay red. And you'll just see the point at which it changes. And that's basically the area in which it'll have this back and forth. But unless it closes there, it stays once it closes, it stays at that color, okay? So it really isn't that difficult. It's very simple to apply, okay? Is the platform free? Boy, you must have come in late. Yes, we've said this about 5 times. The platform is free. It's usually a $1,200 value, but we are giving this absolutely free. We're giving you Strategy 4 free. We're giving you Strategy 5 free. With the platforms, you have 3 things that are free. The only thing we're asking for is the cost of the PET-D. And on top of that, we're also giving you an opportunity to have a payment plan. So if you have a payment plan, you can, you don't have to spend the $49.95. You can still come in with a small discount. So remember, the platform, you're getting a full year free. Strategy 4 and Strategy 5, we're not charging anything. The only thing we're asking for is the PET-D, okay? Now, if anyone's asking for a guarantee or a money-back guarantee, what we have noticed we used to do in the past, we used to give money-back guarantees, but then we realized that a lot of people were just stealing our information. And we'd see it somewhere on other sites, and people were basically copying our education that only comes from us. So what we do is, Pro Trader Strategies will have you replace any other method if you're not happy with what you're using. But most of our students usually are so ecstatic by what they have, they very rarely ask for a transfer for something else. So these are all questions, though, to ask for Pro Trader Strategies, because they're all in charge of the pricing and all of that information. Okay, in terms of the actual trading, the way that question was concerning the color bar painting and Strategy 4 questions, those are all things that I can basically answer. But questions concerning guarantees and concerning the costs and such, contact Pro Trader Strategies. Like I said, they're there to help you. There's absolutely no obligation. They would be more than happy to answer your question. And remember, you can sit and hold on and wait for it a bit, but don't wait too long, because after that, the price will go back to, you'll be close to $7,500 or more, okay? After a year, the platform is basically $97 a month after a year. But you're not locked into that. You can decide if you want it or not. Most of our students stay on, and for $97, I personally in the past have paid close to $500 a month for some platform usage, okay? For all the things and indicators you get, where all the information you're getting, the things that I've taken from the floor that you won't find anywhere else, $97 is very inexpensive, okay? Question, do you have an idea when you'll link a trading account to the platform? No, we're still discussing that because of the ramifications and the legalities involved, but that may be a question to ask Pro Trader Strategies as well, since that's up there, and more in their wheelhouse, because as I said, they're in charge of, mainly in charge of the platform and a lot of the usage, and is also as well as the tech support. But that's something we have considered and are still considering. So it's not something we put on the back burner. We just want to make sure that the legalities, we're once again an educational company, so we're a lot different from other companies that are saying, yes, we want to promote our strategies and we want you to take the buy signals and take the sell signals. Whereas once again, that's not our philosophy. We don't believe that. We're more about educating you. So there's a lot of conceptual questions as to whether we want to get involved in the trading world. But that's still something we're still thinking about. So I don't want you to think we've totally forgotten that. Okay, good questions, good questions. I want you to just remember, though, that everything you saw here today was displayed coming from our platform. And on top of that, these are all things that I personally use on my own trading. Even though I trade the E-mini futures, because, obviously my trading is different. I can't be in front of the, I'll be giving a presentation today. I'll be talking to students later on. I can in no way be trading things and holding on positions if I can't watch them. So whenever I have a free moment, I trade intraday markets such as the E-mini, and that's my market of choice. And if these things work on the E-mini, trust me, they can be applied to Bitcoin, they can be applied to currency pairs, to futures. It makes no difference, okay? Oh, you're welcome. I'm just getting a compliment here. The guy has been, some people have bought some expensive trading courses. Ours are hand down the best. Thank you. That's really nice to hear. But really, our goal is really about educating you. As I said, as an educator, it really doesn't do any good if, I sell you something and then you say, hey, I've lost more money than I did before. And that's unfortunately what happens with a lot of other of the webinars and so-called educators, because they're really just trying to sell you things that basically take you out of the game. We are the opposite. We want you to be involved, and we want to be there with you every step of the way so that you can ultimately make your own trading decisions. These are not black boxes. They're not in any way, methods that you have no idea how to trade them. We teach you all the rules to Strategy 4 and 5 and teach you exactly how to apply the PET-D in the best way. And that's really the secret to everything. Teaching you so that you can be in charge of your own trading destiny for the very first time. So hopefully you'll become students of mine And as we take one last look at our disclaimer, thank you so much for attending and taking time out of your Wednesday. I really hope you have a great trading day, but most especially, I really hope you become students of mine at this great offer in our triple threat of trading, okay? Contact Pro Trader Strategies. They'd be happy to work with you and set up a payment plan. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.